Good morning. It's good to see you. I hope you had a good weekend. Come on with us to Hebrews chapter 11 today. I want to talk about, we've been talking about the heroes of faith in the Old Testament. Today we are upon one of the main ones. I want to talk about Abraham, and I want to talk about his tent. He lived in tents with his son and grandson, Isaac and Jacob. Talks about it in Hebrews chapter 11. But I want to talk about it from the perspective of what Abraham's tent was. And what it was, and you might just consider it, it was a tent of worship. In Genesis chapter 13, it talks about Abraham pitching his tent at a certain place and calling upon the name of the Lord there. Not to denigrate gathering with the Lord's saints on Sundays or anything like that, but sometimes we forget we can worship at home during the week. We can pray to the Lord. We can sing to the Lord. We can worship the Lord. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we can worship the Lord wherever we are. We can worship the Lord in prison. We can worship the Lord in the belly of a great fish. We can worship the Lord at home, where we dwell. And we need to be, I would suggest. Abraham's tent, it was a tent of worship. It was also a tent of contentment, if I can spit that out. Remember when his herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen, they were feuding, there wasn't enough land to go around for all of the animals, and Abraham tells Lot, you choose wherever you want to go, and Abraham says, I'll go the opposite way. And of course Lot is going to choose he's going to choose to pitch his tents even as far as Sodom. Abraham though, and Lot did that because the land was so beautiful. And he dwelt in the cities, it also mentions. Well, Abraham, it was a tent of contentment. He was not trying to keep up with the Joneses. He was content wherever he was. And we need to do the same. There's something to be said about that, about being content. A lot of times we spend so much time, so much of our resources, if you will, trying to keep up with the Joneses. And it's a mistake. Abraham's tent was also a tent of hospitality. In Genesis chapter 18, that's the account where Abraham is at the door of the tent, and the Lord appears to him in human form, along with two angels also in human form. It's where Abraham entertained strangers, to use a Hebrew's phrase, and he was hospitable towards them. It was a tent of hospitality. It was also a tent of testing. Genesis chapter 22, the Lord calls to Abraham, and he says he wants him to go offer his son Isaac. I would suggest that happened there where Abraham was pitching his tent, and of course he would take Isaac 3 days' journey to Moriah. It is at home very often. It is where we dwell. That is where the Lord finds out whether or not we truly fear the Lord. That's where the Lord can tell whether or not we truly fear Him. It's a tent of testing. Hebrews chapter 11 is a verse I wanted to close with, though, this morning. At verse 9 it says, by faith, this is Hebrews 11 verse 9, by faith he, talking about Abraham, dwelt in the land of promises in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Abraham looked forward. He looked forward to heaven. He dwelt in the land of promise as in a foreign land, the verse says. We get so caught up in thinking that this is our home. This is nothing but a temporary dwelling. We try to do everything we can to make our living here permanent. It's temporary. We need more Abrahams in this world. We need to understand the lesson of Abraham. Hope you enjoyed this study. God bless you. Hope to see you tomorrow morning.